talking about interviews, let's cover the interview process at Quillbot. I think that will be a very important aspect for people to know.
Yeah, I think it's fairly standard. I think a lot of people who have been applying here, who have been applying at Quillbot, maybe at other organizations as well. I think a very standard process, at least for the first couple of phases, wherein somebody applies, a recruiter, the first part is of course a recruiter will be looking at your profile. They will just try to figure out if whatever you mentioned on the CV is it matching at least the basic requirements that we have. Are you coming from a B2C company? Are you coming from a company that where you scale like zero to a product from 0 to 1, 1 to 10, 10 to 100, whatever it is. I think all the basic uh, skills and experiences that you have mentioned in your CV, somebody would review it. If they feel that, hey, I think this matches at least what we want on papers, let's have a discussion with this person. So then the second discussion will be all about, you know, um, meeting with this candidate and, talking about their experiences, the kind of impact that they have, and of course, answering their questions that they might have regarding Quillbot. A lot of people come to these interviews and, they have certain questions as in how do you see the future and all those things. I think, and which is very fair, and that's why we are there for. And so it's like if it's a 60-minute discussion, it's like divided into 30 minutes uh, in two sections. Wherein the first section I try to, or maybe my team would try to answer questions for the candidates so that they can have a better understanding of the role and the company. And then we deep dive into their experiences and we just try to understand if whatever they have mentioned in the CV is exactly, or maybe is it something that they have really done. So when we feel that, okay, this is fitting, we move on to the next phase, which is we start lining up their technical discussions or maybe skill-based, discussions with the hiring manager or maybe with the technical leads. So the third part is the hiring manager interview, wherein, of course, if we like somebody, we ask them to meet the hiring manager so that the hiring manager can do a semi-technical discussion wherein they will want to check the technical abilities as well as if they are a good culture fit. So when I say culture fit, the values that we mentioned or we talked about in the previous slides, I think that is something that we try to gauge in. And again, it's not a very deep dive. I think it's more like, hey, again, is it at least on from a bird's eye view, does it fit in? Because 60 minutes you cannot really do a lot of assessment there. And if you feel that, okay, at least whatever is written in the CV is fair enough, let's now do the skill-based interview. So now here the experts will come into play, and like from our company, experts from different functions for different roles will do a technical interview. This will be like purely technical, where they will give you case studies or maybe they'll give you some life problems to solve, and they'll just try to see how you react to it, what is your thought process, and uh, how what how's your attitude also, like when you're trying to solve those problems. So that is something that we do. And then if we feel, and by the way, this skill-based interview depends if we want to do like just one discussion or do we need another discussion just to make sure if we have any doubts to eliminate those doubts. So that can also happen where we have like a part two of skill-based assessments as well. Once somebody clears that, I think we do a culture fitment interview, which will be either done by the HRBP or maybe the hiring manager again, right? So the hiring manager can come into play again and say, hey, now this person has cleared all these interviews. Now I just really want to see if this guy meets all the values or the culture, that we have in place. The HRBP can also do it, by the way. Again, depending on how the hiring manager wants to go about it. Again, if somebody clears that discussion as well, then we move into the negotiation phase where we will talk about. Generally, we try to take the expectations in the beginning of the interview process itself, so that we don't really have to do a lot of back and forth in this particular phase. So this is more like, I mean, in our case at Quillbot, 90% of the times it is more like a formal discussion where we say, hey, in the beginning you said this is what you're expecting, so we are pretty good with that. We think that you are an excellent, that you will be an excellent addition to our team, and we are happy to offer you the kind of expectations you had when we started this conversation. and then we start with the offer process. Once the offer is rolled out, we start the background check through a third-party vendor, and they just validate all the information that is shared by the candidate. So this is how a typical process looks like. Again, this is a typical process. There could be additions or deletions of the stages depending on how well the candidate is performing or how not well the candidate is performing.